The following episode may contain discussions surrounding suicide, mental health disorders, self-harm, and other very real, very triggering topics. If, at any point during the episode, you or someone you know is in need of support, please don't wait. Call 988 or visit iasp.info to easily access resources or have a one-on-one conversation with a certified mental health expert. Welcome, everyone, to the official start of Season 3 of the Make Mental podcast. As you can see, you can actually see us this time. This is the first ever video episode we're doing. Very excited. We have a 10th at a video episode before. Hopefully, you've listened to that by now. Should have been audio only. We are working on it currently in current time, so we'll get that over to you. But since this is a brain dump, I'm going to pass it over to Mike Gualtieri, as always, so he can introduce our very special guest, who we really don't consider a guest at this point, just kind of a brother.
Well, good morning, boys. This is Slater Bushen. I don't really feel like I don't need an intro because we talked about you probably about 80 times on every episode, so there's really not much of an intro for him. But yeah, it's good to always have the boys in the chat, so thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. It was my birthday yesterday, so we had a good celebration. All the boys.
We had a good night.
We're in good spirits this morning.
Yeah, we've been hanging anyway.
Yeah,
so
we've been
it's kind of
chilling.
just like maintaining the vibes, you know?
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of what we've envisioned from the beginning, and as you know from the amount of times we've talked about Slater, this is kind of what he's been waiting for. We've asked him a couple times to come on, think about his thoughts a little bit. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he said,
You knew that.
dude, when you guys have video, I need to come on. I don't want to do it over the phone or anything. It's got to be face-to-face because it's the most authentic. So
Oh, it's got to be like uncut. It's got to be like genuine. We got to feel the energy in the room. I feel like it's different. I mean, you know, Zoom's okay, whatever you need, but, you know, we're just dudes hanging out anyway, so might as well just hang out like this and record some stuff. Like, why not?
I feel like since you pounded like 6 cups of coffee and whatever was in that, I don't know.
The creatine BCA mix.
You've been on a different level.
You kind of woke up just like ready to rock today. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, dude, my typical hours anyway, I wake up at like 6 o'clock, so getting that extra sleep until 9, I'm like, let's go!
The crazy thing is, like, this isn't unnatural for us. Like, we used to do this daily at our own house. We all lived together back in Oswego. We would just wake up in the morning, especially after a night out
On
in the
Saturdays.
town, and we just congregate in the living room, and it was like, hey, let's just like talk about last night, what happened. But luckily, we all remember what happened last night.
So,
well,
last night.
yeah.
At least the 3 of us sitting here remember what happened last night.
Some of us, you know who, can't say the same after
You know
this
what?
morning.
I'll do the shout out. Shout out to my boy Duran. And
Yeah.
we'll leave it there.
Shout out to Duran.
That's
after
my
last night.
Legend.
shout out to you,
Legendary.
Duran. Shout out to you, Duran.
Yeah. When I dropped him off this morning, that's what I said to him. I go, he's like, thanks, man. Thanks for last night, everything. I go, dude, you're a legend.
Well, now, like, the expectations are so high that, like, I'm going to expect him to have to do something crazy, like, the next time I see him. I'm going to be like, that is the kid that did some crazy stuff.
Not
But
like
it's cool. It's
we gotta
cool.
give context now. We
Yeah.
can't say he did crazy shit.
He
and
did.
not say
He
anything.
attempted a front flip, over committed, over rotated, and ended up smacking his face.
He bounced.
It was,
Yeah.
like, such a good front flip that he ate it, like, getting into his next flip. So, like, that's how good it was.
I know.
I was very impressed.
He almost.
What was most impressive is Mike went over to check on him like a responsible human being. I kind of looked at him and was like, what did I just see? And Slater was like, dude, that was impressive.
Yeah. Well, it was, like, impressive how he got up, like, nothing even happened, because he, like, bounced his head off the pavement. Like that.
Well, for context, where he did it off of, it's like a rubber, like, matte ground floor. So it's
Like a track.
Yeah, it's not exactly like concrete. So
Yeah,
that's a
slightly
good
better.
thing.
It's like a track.
Slightly
Yeah,
better.
it is slightly
Yeah.
better. Like, if it was
Yeah.
concrete, I would have definitely been
I don't think he
even
would have
more.
bounced if it was
Yeah,
concrete.
yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
There
he
would have
just-
been
he
no
would've
bouncing.
splattered.
Yeah, he would have soaked
Would
it,
have
dude.
splat, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Then Slater would have been
Yeah.
more like, no.
No, cool dude, though. I
Mhm.
mean, honestly, you know.
He would have fit right in.
Yeah, he would
He
have fit
would've-
right
he
into a
would've been-
friend group.
We
so.
could have kept him in the closet at
Yeah,
186.
bummer I just met him now.
I know.
Because he's good vibes.
I know, dude. He just
Yeah.
started working at Dick's Sporting Goods with me probably about like 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I admitted to him yesterday. I go, just want you to know, like when I had him do some tasks because I had to train him, so I made him do some tasks, and he goes, dude, he's like, you made me do some really like shitty tasks, and I go, I'm not gonna lie, I was just testing the water to see like how good you could do like some certain like simple things. He goes, I knew you were testing me. He's like, you dick, I knew you were doing that.
You're probably like having him do some stuff that isn't even in the job description, just to, like
Nope.
mess with him.
Yeah,
I was
like,
pick up the same box 3 times. It doesn't have a shoe in it or something.
Have him change the same display sheet 3 times from a
what I
9
had
to a
him do-
9.5 to a 10.
I had him price changing socks for a whole day. That's all I
Wait,
had to do.
you're in charge of him?
No, not anymore. But at the time, like when he was new, like someone had to train him like how to use the systems and stuff. So I had him just price change socks. I'm like, this couldn't be the easier. Like this is the easiest thing to do here. I'm like, if he can't even do this, then I know where I can gauge this kid. And what he could do, I'm like, oh, okay.
You know who he reminds
Yeah,
me of?
dude.
He reminds me of if, like, for us, if Jake Johnson, Kevin Miller, and Slater had a child, just morphed them into one.
That's a dangerous combination.
That's who you'd get, though.
That's why he's a dangerous human being.
That's who you,
Yeah.
and that's why he'd fit right in. But I'm completely right. He would go to the gym, he would have fun, and he'd be a genius.
Yeah, dude, he's
Yeah.
fun.
He's an
He's
animal
fun.
of the gym, dude. He's
Yeah.
an animal of the gym.
Yeah, no, dude. He I never really got a good look at him,
Mhm.
but
You didn't
like
just
he
check
seems
him
pretty
out.
stocky. You
You
know?
didn't just say,
No, and I mean, when you see it, I'm like, he looks like kind of a stocky guy. He has to be
he's
working out.
beefy.
And he mentioned like me and
Dude, I feel like we should. I feel like we should have him on the episode. We're talking.
Yeah.
We spent the
Yeah.
first 8 minutes of this episode talking about Durant. He's not even here.
Yeah, I know.
But that's just how-
now you got to put him on.
But
though.
yeah,
We'll get
now
him. We'll get
yeah.
him on in the
Yeah, you
future.
gotta
D,
put
I'm
him
getting you
on.
on one of the next episodes.
when he's got not a black eye.
Yeah, when
We'll
his
have
face
him
is all
Yeah,
cut up.
shout out D.
Let's kind of
Yeah,
transition
we can move on.
into you.
We can
Yeah.
move on.
Into you a little bit. Can you
Yeah.
kind of, obviously we know you, but can you kind of give our listeners and our now viewers, it used to just be listeners, but now it's like viewers.
I
Actually.
love that.
Give our
dude.
audience.
I love that.
Can you kind of give them like
Give our
a little
audience.
rundown about like you, like where you grew up, where you're born, all your moving and stuff? Because you got a story, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm just a Make Mental super fan. I just hang out and watch Make Mental videos all day.
We didn't give him this gear, by the way. He just showed up with
Yeah.
it. So he
Yeah.
he weaseled his way some gear.
Oh, dude, this is some super fan stuff.
That's
Yeah.
that's the OG merchandise.
Yeah.
We're rep. Well,
I got
am.
OG.
You got OG. I'm repping the new stuff right now. What's our website called? Because I was gonna say like shopmakementalmerch.com, but I don't even think it's what it's called.
It's
Like,
not. It's a bunch of random letters.
Yeah,
so
we gotta
go on the Instagram, hit shop now, or go on our link tree. You can find us on Linktree. It says
Yeah.
it.
But this is one of the new hoodies. I don't know if it's even visible in the camera. There's the front. The back says "You make my heart smile."
You got some cool stuff, but there's nothing like your best friends
Yeah.
showing up with your OG merch. And
That's
like,
cool.
I gotta get on. But
Yeah,
go
dude.
ahead and tell us about yourself.
Yeah,
Who are you?
man. I mean, I don't even know like how to start it because you guys
All right,
know
let's
me.
let's
but-
start with like
but-
in Owego, like growing
Yeah,
up in
so
Owego.
so
From day one, straight up.
yeah, I
in
grew up in
Wolves, like-
Owego. It's like a small town outside of Binghamton, as you know. I mean, you played a lot of soccer against Owego at Owego, I'm sure. But,
Sure did.
yeah, I grew up there until I was 11, and then moved up to the North Country to a little town called 3 Mile Bay, right outside of the Watertown area. My dad got a job at Fort Drum, and started my new life there, and it was like really a new life. Like it was like I felt like I was in like the suburb vibes, like
you were
right-
11, right?
Yeah,
10,
yeah,
11.
yeah. Like I grew up and I could just like walk to my friend's house because it was in the same like little development, and it was cool, And then moving up to the North Country, I was kind of like stranded. Like there's nobody around me, I had to like learn how to just be okay with like just being around myself,
Mhm.
And it was a different vibe. I struggled for like a while, sort of fitting in. All these other kids had known each other since they were, 2 years old. It was kind of like a family, and I like was in that family. I graduated in a school with like 20 kids in my graduating class. So for me, a lot of it was just fitting in, just trying to like understand like what it is with living in this new area as as opposed to like a suburb,
Yeah.
And it was cool. I feel like I fit in and adapted as well as I could, but I felt like I never really was, a major component of the family just because I hadn't had that experience in like growing up like that.
Mhm.
It was cool, and had a lot of fun, made a lot of friends, have a lot of memories.
I'm
played
assuming.
soccer,
I was say playing.
basketball.
I was just gonna say that playing soccer probably helped that transition a bit, like making friends and stuff. I would assume.
Yeah, it was like good and bad, because I was decent, I guess. I'm not gonna try to gas myself up, but it kind of created envy amongst
Oh,
like
yeah.
me and like other people.
Yeah.
And I never really had that, but like, but there was also good connections because I was like playing with guys that were also pretty decent. They're like, oh, like we should link up and like, like I don't know, go to the mall or something, like
Train a
hang
little
out,
bit.
because be
Yeah.
together, So there was a lot of that, and it was fun, man. Then found Oswego. I honestly didn't even expect to like go to Oswego.
Man just
Nope.
added one letter to his
No,
childhood
no.
hometown and said, "I'll go there."
Dude, I had
No.
never heard of it until like my junior senior
Well,
high school.
Oswego?
Yeah, never even heard of it.
No, dude, I didn't even know like that was like a SUNY school. Like
Didn't
I
either.
really
No.
like I was like so oblivious. I got invited to go to an ID camp. I had like sent my highlight video, which
We
is
went
like,
at it.
which is
We went at it that ID
Well, like
camp.
I kind of knew you, and
Well, we saw each other
What's
previous.
the story on that? You should tell them the story.
We saw
on
each other
that.
previous.
Oh yeah, but you should tell them the story about me showing up to the ID camp and you
We all were
showing
there.
up to play with me.
Yeah. So
Remember?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, for those who don't know, a lot of sports have ID camps when you're in high school, so the coaches can obviously see you in real life if they can't make it out to Lyme. So coach invited a bunch of people to an ID camp. I think you were there.
I was
yeah,
there.
he was.
Yeah.
That's how I met him.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh,
where they
yeah.
met. That's where we actually all met. But at
Yes.
the time, like, we kind of just met and we were like, it was weird. You were like feeling each other out because you're like, wait a minute, these
Well, at
kids
the
are
time,
good.
we didn't know
Like,
whether we didn't know if we'd be teammates or not. Like,
well, yeah, like 50 to 70 kids show up to these things sometimes, right? So it's like, okay, you can obviously tell who's serious about being here and who's just kind of here because their parents said you need to go.
get their name out there.
And it's one of those situations where, like, yeah, you want to try your hardest to make sure you can impress coach, but at the same time, you don't want to potentially injure or make a bad connection with one of your potential teammates. So I show up kind of knowing that Slate's going to be there. I think I played against you previously with Waza, but we didn't really connect. I played
I
against
don't
Slate.
think we did.
Anyway,
We were supposed to,
I
but
played against Slate previous, and I was like, yes, I get to show up to this ID camp and play with this kid because we saw each other at some sort of awards ceremony. He was in the small school section. I was in the larger school section at Liverpool, and I was like, oh, this kid's legit. Like, I hope he knows about Oswego. Turns out he does. We go, and then coach puts us on opposite teams for the ID camp, and here I am, like, God dang it! I really wanted to ball out with this kid,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to have to sweat and defend him.
Well, I think the story was I was waiting for you to get to that point. I thought it was funny. At least this is what Coach told me. Coach was like, I strategically planned to put Caleb there just to test to see how good he actually is because, I played at a small school. The competition wasn't the same as yours.
Mhm.
So to see you come and defend me, it was kind of a marker for
I
where I'm
I
going
was
to be
like,
as a
dude,
player.
stop moving, okay? Just
Yeah,
relax. You're good.
Yeah.
And they put Matt Barrow,
Yeah.
one of Fulton's best goalkeepers, in the goal with me. So Slater was going up against like big school people when he wasn't used to it. He did well.
And I had, I think
Snuck a
I
few
had you
by.
on my team, dude. And it was like distinct. Like the guys who made it to the Oswego team were like clearly the best players. I mean, you could just spot it out.
As it
Like I
should
could
be,
pick
yeah.
you out. I could pick him out. I don't remember
Yeah.
very many people there, but
TJ
just
was
the
there.
guys who could like
TJ, I remember
immediately
TJ,
play. Yeah, TJ.
There-
But
yeah.
TJ got hurt early.
Yeah,
That is
was
true.
unfortunate.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. Like that trip, you could kind of tell you're like these guys are the ballers. So if coach doesn't take those guys, kind of an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
like you're like if he doesn't pick these guys, like it's pretty simple.
You were like a marker though, because I saw that Waza Flow shirt. So the background on Waza Flow is you played Waza Flow, obviously.
My
This
whole
is just
life.
for the listeners,
Yeah.
the watchers. You played Waza Flow. My
The
brother,
Watchers.
who's 8 years older than me, also played for Waza Flow.
Huh.
And I was kind of always there. I was always friends with like your coach.
Yep.
So when I saw Waza Flow, I'm like, hey, Waza Flow.
Yeah,
You know?
he's
Yeah.
like, oh dude, my brother played for them. I'm like, yeah, you played for Lamar. He's like, yeah, dude, I know Lamar. I'm like, yeah,
Lamar.
Lamar's coached me since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was like, I've known him. He's practically like almost another dad to me at this point. But
Yeah.
I think what made me most angry is I was like ready to ball out with you guys, and then coach puts us on opposite teams, and I'm like,
Yep.
I get it, but like,
I'm
can't
not
we
gonna
just
If I'm being
Can't
completely
we
honest
just
with you, that
rock it?
trip, that ID clinic, I didn't care who I was playing with. I was only solely focused on myself because the week prior to that, I had been told by Ithaca College that they weren't going to take me. The coach had literally emailed me and was
it's like a
"You're-"
something to prove kind of week?
Yeah, no, so like it was just that week before. My dad looks at me, he's like, all right, it's either Oswego or nothing. Like you got to make it work.
Yeah.
So I went to that trip just balls to walls. I was like, it's either this or nothing. Like if I want to play college soccer, I have to do it now. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to rewind a little bit though, back to Slater's childhood, I guess, middle childhood.
Run it back.
Obviously, moving is difficult. Fitting into a new school is difficult. Playing soccer and being better than pretty much everyone on your team is fun, but again, it comes with its challenges. Mental health for you growing up, was it something you were aware of? Was it something you're just kind of like, I'll get over it, dude? Like, what is
Oh,
that like?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, it was really like fitting in. I mean, I would say like it was like I mean, mental health is always a component, but for me,
Well,
it was
fitting in
more
is
like,
a tall task for
Yeah.
a 12, 13-year-old. That's
Yeah,
not you're going
yeah.
through some awkward transitions to begin with.
Well,
The last thing you want to do is feel like you got to make brand new friends.
Yeah, bro. Well, not only was it like you're maturing, you're hitting puberty, and you don't know like what to make of yourself in the world, but also like you're trying to find connections. You're trying to see like who is the good kids, who's the bad kids,
Yeah.
you know. And for me, it was a hard navigation because I didn't know these kids, and they all knew each other, you know. And there were some people that I had connections with in the beginning that I didn't have connections with toward the end because I just was able to see through
Sorted it out.
some of the some of the craziness of being young and whatnot. And these people change. I never labeled anybody and said like, oh hey, you're a bad kid or you're a good kid. I'm like, well, maybe we're just our paths are not meant to be right now. Because a lot like some of the kids like like one of my best friends that went in the military came back. He was a new guy, and I never was really close to him when we were younger because he was always what probably most people would label a bad kid. Comes back from the military, man, he's like totally different, and
Good
he's one
shit.
of my best friends.
Go Global is a free-flowing technology company that handcrafts, embellishes, and manufactures garments and accessories. Designed on the principles of people, places, and possibilities, Go Global reimagines fashion and is inspired by you, the people of the world.
And that'll change people though. Well, like I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of kids I know that went to the military, they come back and they're like night and day. You can tell it like fully whipped them into shape.
They needed some sort of structure that for
Yeah.
some reason home or the school wasn't providing that the military could. You know?
Yeah.
But that's your
And
thoughts.
discipline.
Yeah. Well, that goes with structure in my
Yeah.
opinion, but discipline, that 100%. I still struggle with discipline to this day, but
Yeah.
that's a lot for you to unpack as a kid. Like
Yeah.
the fact that you were thinking about like at a younger age, like maybe our paths were meant to cross. Like that's not something I thought about until recently.
Yeah.
So you've always been kind of intellectual like that.
Well, dude, I always just like to like hang out, you know, like whoever, like even when I was younger, like my brother would always bring this up, like to people that like he'll just hang out with anybody, you know, like I don't say like, hey, you know, this kid's not cool enough for me or this kid's too weird for me. Like I'll just like be around anybody, and that's how I kind of was.
Just vibe.
Yeah, like if I knew that it was going to be detrimental to me, I wouldn't say like you're bad. I would just be like, we're not supposed to hang out right now. Like maybe you have a different friend group. And I think that's a good way to have just in like social development and everybody. Everybody's always trying to like label you and say like, oh, this guy sucks or he sucks, she sucks. But maybe they're just not meant for you, you know? And
But that seems like that's always been you though. Like you're kind of like an amoeba in a way. I've always noticed. Like you just you do like you really adapt to your environment and you vibe check. I was like one of the first things I remember we chatted about when we first. Well, another context thing. We were freshman year roommates together. That was a trip in itself.
That could be a whole episode.
That could be a whole episode. That's like a movie at this point.
Yeah,
But-
I don't even know if we want to unpack that
No,
one.
probably not.
We'll
But-
get into it a little
but you-
bit. We
you
got to get
did-
into it a little bit.
We will get a little. But you did say to me at one point, you were like, I'll never forget. Like the day you said, you're like, I just like read people's vibes. So I remember you said to me, I was like, what? You're like, that's all I do. You're like, I walk into a room, I read he's like, I scan the whole room, I get the vibe, and he goes, and I get the room, like the room's vibe as a whole. And he's like, once I do that, then he's like, I go from
He
there.
just changes colors with the room.
Pretty much, like he just if the whole room is like kind of chill and quiet and not like very active, Slate's chill, quiet. But if like the room's like amped up and hyped, and he's amped up, it's like whatever the room gives to you, you give right back to it.
Well, whatever you feel the room needs too, because sometimes the
Yeah.
room is dead, and you're like, guys, why are we dead? Like, let's get going. Or
Yeah.
if it's too loud and rambunctious, you're like, what are we celebrating? Let's relax a little bit.
Yeah.
You like to keep it right in the middle with like spurts of like and spurts of like gee.
Yeah. Yeah. And take what you want from it. Sometimes when you're like trying to like rev the group up, it's annoying, and you know.
Yeah, but I feel like
it's not always a perfect fit. You know,
Yeah.
I'm human too. But
Well, to me though, the way I took it is if you were trying to get the team going, if you were trying to get like our friend group going, it just held a lot of weight.
oh yeah.
Because it wasn't something that you did every night. Like myself and Michael, we'll just go crazy when we feel like it. So people are like, all right, they're being Caleb and Michael again. But when you did it, it was like, there's got to be something behind it. Like he might have just studied in his room for 7 hours. There's a lot of pent up energy, or he really just wants to have a good time tonight.
Yeah. And I mean, it depends on the context too. Like sometimes I'll take it really professionally. I have to be serious. But like when I was hanging out with you guys and like doing fun stuff, we'd just be like, you know, hanging out or going out or playing soccer, man, I just knew that like there was one thing, and it's in our modi operandi that we have, is we choose to have fun. I never forget that, dude, because that's what it's about when you're playing sports and hanging out with your buddies, because you can never get those moments back. Like what we have right now, I wanted to make sure that we could do that, because we'll never be able to take this back. In 3-4 years, you're gonna have kids. Or maybe have kids or have a wife or whatever.
We'll see where the wind blows.
Maybe,
but like,
maybe,
kudos.
like, but
You might.
yeah, maybe. But to my point, like, it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah.
So I always try to like enjoy every moment separately.
Very present.
And
Yeah.
life is a choice. That's
Yeah.
what I think a lot of people don't always get that, is that like life is a choice. Like you choose every day how your day is going to be. You could choose if it could be just be a crappy day, or you could choose to put your energy into it, take the positive from things, and like choose to have a good day.
Yeah.
Like it's really is a mindset thing. Like I've even shifted my mindset. I even told my mom about this the other day. I was like, it's a matter of waking up. I go, one, obviously because I'm religious, I thank God for every day. I go, because that's not guaranteed for starters. I go, the second thing I was like, I want to win the day. I was like, I always tell myself, just win the day.
You
Because
said
win
that.
Yeah, I was like, if you win the day, then you can win weeks, then you can win months, then you can win a year. Like
I
it
like
should be as
that.
simple as
That
that.
goes back
I like that.
to
Win the
Slate's
day.
message
win the
he used
day.
to say. Slate would always tell me, like, 1% better, dude. You don't got to get 100% better in the entire day.
Yeah, dude.
Just do
the
one
same
thing better than you
concept.
did yesterday.
Yeah. And that's what it's about for me too. And like, if you have a bad day, for me it was like I always tried to like be present and try to do like whatever it was. A lot of it was academic, where I kind of came up with this. I'd have like a bad day, I'd do bad on a test or whatever. I would say the sun will rise and we will try again tomorrow. And I have
that was a
tattooed
post-it
on me.
note, I think, on one of your door frames.
Yeah,
there for a
yeah,
while.
I have it tattooed on.
Do you?
Yeah,
He does,
Where?
yeah.
yeah, like right here.
Show it.
I don't know if I gotta like
you're good. You're
give
good.
the crowd
Show
my
the barrel.
flow.
Show the
Yeah,
barrel.
yeah.
Show the barrel. For
What-
sides.
what's
Yeah.
you got
Can you
another
grab me
one?
that water?
What's the
Can you grab that water for sides? Just it's a complete side note.
what's
We're gonna keep
what's
this in
the
here.
other tat you got on you?
Thanks,
The-
you. I'm so
the-
thirsty.
Asian lettering, I think. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
it's Chinese or
Fit-
Japanese or.
Chinese. It's just like I wanted to minimize the amount of letters that I use, so
Yeah.
I just use these symbols. That's why I did it that way.
Oh,
But,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's faith, discipline, and honor, but it's a
Oh,
lot
okay.
to put on your knee.
But-
So
Well, yes, but that's
Do it in
that's
Chinese,
Separate.
it's
That's
way
separate
shorter.
from,
Yeah.
that's separate from your basically win the day.
yeah,
You have two.
yeah.
Is
yeah.
it Chinese?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chinese? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I wasn't
Yeah.
being an
Yeah.
asshole there.
Yeah.
That's why I
wanna
said I
make
don't know if
sure
it's
they're
Chinese,
right. Yeah.
Japanese.
yeah.
That's another thing too. I think a lot of times people will make a mistake, right? Like if I said it was Korean or if I said it was something like that, people will just get pissed off, and it's like, dude, how am I supposed to know?
Well, seriously,
Like
dude,
I apologize for not being cultured enough to know, but teach me so that next way I do know.
Well, this is the thing. People like just jump and attack, bro, and it's like you just have to like be forgiving. Like you have to like recognize.
Like I'm not
people are
coming at you
people.
with it. Like it would be
Yeah.
one thing if I was direct, knowing the type of lettering, and then purposely making the mistake.
Yeah.
Then I deserve to be scolded.
Yeah.
Or you act like you know what you're talking about. You're like
Exactly.
it is Korean. You're like, and
Exactly.
you're not.
And it's
like,
not.
that's wrong.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean,
different.
again, this is just going back to his tattoo. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be like Slate coming on here and just pretending he knows everything about mental health, or even me and Mike pretending we know everything. We don't.
Yeah.
Not
we
even
come
close.
We come on and we learn with our guests. We teach our guests. Our guests
Yeah.
teach us. We learn from the audience. Like that's what Slater brings to the table. I think every day he knows a lot, and then he also knows that he doesn't know a lot, and he's willing to learn it. He's the first person to tell you, like, man, I really don't know.
Yeah.
And can you explain that to us? Like your ability to not pretend like you have to know everything and be perfect.
Yeah. That's usually the way that I premise everything before I start talking about something very like intellectual, is that I'm like, I don't know shit, but this is what I think.
You say, don't quote me on this a lot.
Yeah, or don't
Yeah.
quote me on this.
But
Yeah.
did that come naturally, or is that something you learned? Because obviously, I mean, you're the younger brother. We like to pretend like we know more than we do, just to fit in with our older siblings. But how did you learn how to be okay with not having perfectionism, especially when you want to go into the medical field? That is a struggle sometimes. When we play sports, that's a struggle.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's like a mixture of like everything, it's just kind of funny to like bring up, but not trying to like throw my dad under the bus and run him over, but
we
like,
know.
but like a lot of the time, like I'd ask him for stuff, and this was before you had like legitimate, like super like good, software to look up whatever you want, like Google or whatever. I'd be like, Dad, what's like the biggest city in the country? And he would just come up with some stuff, and like we would have no clue if he was right or wrong. You know, and I'd be like, do you like actually know this, or do you think this? But you always start it with, I know. And finally, I'm like, wait a second, does he actually know?
As soon as you got old enough to Google, you were like, I'm gonna throw a fact check in here.
Yeah.
Dad, what's the biggest city? Our city, son. This city.
Yeah.
Oswego.
And dude, I would have believed it too. That's the thing.
This city.
I would have
All
thought.
20 of us.
No, I don't
is the
think that's.
biggest
I
city.
honestly don't think that's throwing your dad under the bus. I think it's your dad wanting to have the answer for his child.
No,
Yeah.
seriously,
100%.
That's definitely what it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also
Which
it's
is
kind of
respectful.
a man thing, right? Like it's hard to swallow your pride sometimes as a man to say like I don't know that.
Yeah, but again, none of us obviously have kids, but like I could only imagine my dad, like me asking him a question and him just being like, I don't know every time. Like you don't
Yeah.
want to look at your dad and just be like, oh, he doesn't know.
Yeah, he's like dumb. You don't want your child to think you're dumb.
Yeah.
You want him to think like you're also not the smartest here. You want like I want a nice middle ground. Like
Yeah.
Well, I think that
Tru-
again,
trust me,
whether
it's-
parents say it or not, a lot of times it's like they want you to take the best qualities of them and learn from the worst qualities of them.
Yeah.
And then as long as you can do that for your kids, and again, that's that 1% better every generation. I think
Mhm.
that might be where you got it from. It's like, hey, I mean, you do your dad's job. There's obviously things that you
Yeah.
love about your father,
Yeah.
but it's one thing where you're like, hey, he taught me that maybe I don't need to have the answer for everything, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and like you said, dude, it's just like learning from people's mistakes. You know, you could take it like two ways. You could be like, oh, like this is how they did it, so this is how I'm gonna be. Or you could say I'm gonna take the good qualities out of it and try to minimize the bad. I mean, you're always gonna have bad days, dude, but it's just about showing up and trying your best. And if you don't do your best, dude, just waking up and trying again tomorrow. You know, just a clean
Yeah.
slate. This is a new day. I needed to like remember that like last week because there was just some stuff that happened at work, and it was just things that would really like set you off and get you stressed out. And then like I feel like I was like getting like not like angry, but kind of like coming off with a vibe that's
Yeah.
like kind of like
Well, your job is
standoffish.
stressful, dude. You
Yeah,
have- you-
yeah,
It's one thing for Mike to say he messed up on the shoe deck. Like, it would piss him off because he's at work and you want to do your best. It's one thing for me
Yeah.
to say I miscounted a book at my job, but it's another thing when people's lives depend on what you do. And I'm not trying to
Yeah.
add more weight or stress to you.
no,
I'm just
no.
saying you have valid reasons to be stressed every day
Yeah.
at work. When you work at a
Yeah.
hospital, like,
Yeah,
people rely on you. Like, if I mess up, okay, I can go back and fix it. If you mess up, there's a whole different level.
Yeah, dude. And yeah, going back to that though, it's like me being standoffish. I feel like I was just like making the environment uncomfortable, and I really evaluated that. And I'm like, you know what? I know that today sucked, tonight sucked, and like I don't want it to be like my stigma is that when things get hard, I'm gonna be an asshole. You
Mhm.
know, like I'm gonna start out tomorrow, clean slate, just apologize and say, you
Pun
know,
intended.
yeah,
You said clean slate 3 times, and I'm fighting my
Yeah.
thoughts. Just be like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, keep
Yeah.
going, keep going.
But clean slate, apologize for, you know, being standoffish maybe, and just like going back at it as if nothing happened, you know, just
How do
sort of-
people respond to that? Are they kind of like, oh, well, he's a good person for it, or is it mixed? Is it sometimes like, why is he apologizing? Like, he can be who he is, or
a mix of both. I think that like we have a good collective group, at least at my job and a lot of jobs that I had in the past, where I can be honest with myself and be like, yeah, like, you know, it was a bad day yesterday. Let's regroup and get
Yeah.
back after it.
has anyone approached you and been like, you had a bad day and you didn't apologize? Is something wrong?
Probably him.
I meant at work, but we transitioned there. But
Yeah, I just thought you were talking about anytime. He's
I mean,
like,
it's valid.
like-
It's fair game.
I'll be one of the first to say, yeah.
yeah,
I call you out on your shit.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
yeah.
that's what makes a healthy friend group, right?
That's-
Like, you need someone to keep
yeah.
you honest. Sometimes freaking obnoxious, but sometimes it's what you need.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
I told both of you. I've told a lot of our friend group, and a lot of people I meet. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna tell you how it is, and there's gonna be a lot of times where you're not gonna like it because a lot of people in this world don't want to hear the truth.
yeah.
We've done it for the podcast.
Yeah, I was like-
Mike
I
would
was
be like, I think what you're doing is completely ass backwards, but we'll roll with it and you can learn. And
But,
I'm
like-
like,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
But I think because I'm like that, I can respect when other people do it for me, so I don't get like butthurt about it, if you will. Like when people
Yeah.
sit there and go like Mike, I think what you're doing right now is like stupid or whatever. Like I usually like take that advice and go like, okay. Like and I don't sit there and go like, all right, now I have to change it. But if I hear it from 2, 3, 4 people, then I'm sitting there going, all right, maybe this behavior or what I'm doing or what I'm thinking should probably change.
yeah.
Like, and I think that's, but I just the amount of people though that I've sat there and gone, this, like, you shouldn't do that or whatever. Like, if I'm just like straight to the point, like, hey, I think this is wrong in your life, or hey, I don't think this person should be in your life, people get like really upset about that. And like, it took me a long time to realize, like, not everyone's receptive to that kind of direct criticism.
Well, for me, I mean, just taking it personally based on what I know, it's just like, it's a blessing to have people that keep you in check like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that'll just like think what you're doing or what you're saying or how you feel is
or
wrong.
Just agree with you.
And then just not say anything about it. So then you keep this I guess, pent up vibe in the air that's all bad. It's just not progressing the relationship. It isn't progressing your life. But people just sit there and just live in this, like, fantasy that things are okay when they're not. I think like it's a sign of a good friend to just be honest with you.
Yeah, you don't want yes
you're
men.
Messing up.
That's why I knew we had a good friend group, is when I realized I was amongst a bunch of guys that aren't yes men. Like, you don't want guys that sit there and look at you, go, yeah, no, dude, you're doing a great job. Yeah, dude, no, yeah, that's
there's
great.
There's times
that's
where
cool.
you have to do that, but then there are times where you can approach it and be like, hey, the other day I told you this because the heat of the situation didn't call for the direct answer. But now that we've all calmed down a little bit, I really don't think you're headed in the right direction. Like, are you open to hear what I have to say?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that's the approach that needed to be taken. And we live and we learn, right? Like, I know I've pissed each of you off. Each of you have pissed me off. It just happens when you live with people. Like, you can't tell me if you have the healthiest family dynamic, you've never been angry at your sibling, your parent.
Doesn't matter who you live with.
Yeah, but
you
like,
can live with literally anybody,
and
you're bound to get mad at them at some point.
The thing is, if you have healthy, and obviously children learn, so they will have unhealthy yelling conversations. But if you have healthy adult conversations, I think 90% of the problems you have with
boundaries.
Someone, but 90% of the problems you have with someone can be solved by a genuinely open-minded, healthy conversation. Because when I was mad, I don't know, let's just say at Michael. When I was mad at Michael, I wasn't completely free of issues. And it was not 50-50, because that's unrealistic. It was like probably 60% me in the wrong, 40% him in the wrong. And as long as you can come to that ground of, or even with you, if we can come to that ground of like, okay, I see what I did, I see what you did, let's move on. Or just, nah, man, let's agree to disagree. Like, I don't think that should completely ruin a relationship.
Right. And it's about the delivery too, man. It's like, you got to know like what time to deliver that, because if they're like already fired up, you're not going to have a productive conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to like make sure like they take down that fortified barrier. When people get their emotions involved, that barrier is fortified. You're not getting through.
How do you handle barriers like that? Do you just stop the conversation? Do you back off? Do you let them know, like, hey,
sometimes I just don't even start it. I just wait for a better time to approach it, man, because it's not about winning or losing.
Is there signs?
I'm not trying
can you like look at someone and say, like, obviously the friends that you have, you can tell, but like at work, say when you had a new coworker, can you look at someone and be like, yeah, they look like they're going to be aggressive, let's just avoid them? Like, how would someone know?
Well, it's hard to identify that, right? That's like getting to know somebody. But like, I would say that generally they give signs. Like, they'll go mute, and like that's not like the appearance that they usually give off.
You call it going their hobbit hole.
Yeah, they'll just hobbit hole around. They'll be like stoop kid. They'll just sit in their stoop, you know.
I had a stoop kid picture on my door in college. Yeah, that's what I did when I didn't want to. When I got angry or upset,
do you remember?
I just locked
you
myself
did that.
in my room.
You put the pictures of what, like, random things
each of us
of what you felt each of our characters were like.
And like our inner gremlins.
Mine was like some random SpongeBob clip.
Yours was the Mr. Krabs meme where like the picture was shaking.
Oh yeah,
is this like our
eyes are all bloodshot. He's
like our hidden inner self that you just posted on our doors.
Yeah, dude. Well, at the time, like, I don't think stoop kid represents you because you're not a stoop kid, but at the time you were a stoop kid.
I was just in my room.
Yeah.
I will say there was a point in my college career where, honestly, probably where I started to go through my most mental health. I just kind of like hid in my room, and I know Mike's talked about it in other episodes. We probably should have just all sat in the common room and talked it out and helped each other. But I just went in my room and was like, I got to figure this out.
Because we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And that's to literally no one's fault at that point. Like, we didn't know any better, except, and like I said, we were all so polite that we were just like, all right, he's got his problems going on, I've got mine, he's got his, and I don't want to bother him with my problems, so I'm just gonna go in my room and just soak it, and then hopefully he can soak his, and then we'll meet in the middle somewhere. Like, it was kind of like that. Like, that's how I felt. Like, we were all so nice, we just didn't want to bother each other with our issues.
Yeah, but I don't think there was like a huge barrier. I think we talked about stuff.
Well, we did.
I think
Liquid Courage helped us out.
Yeah, and well, I think like even like the morning conversations where Mike would come out the bathroom just looked like he just hated the world, and then he would be like,
Thumped-
"So, dude, how's it going?"
No, he would literally. This is what he would do. Mike's bedroom was right in the front door. Walk down a hallway to the right from his room was the bathroom. He'd get out of bed. I don't know. He had his mouth guard in from sleeping or his retainer. He'd thump into the bathroom because our floors were hollow. It literally sounded like an elephant was coming through the hall.
Yeah, you could be like tiptoeing. You
Yeah,
still sound
he would
like that.
thump to the bathroom. I would either be in my room in here and be like, it's time to get up, or I'd be at the table like struggling to eat breakfast, probably puking it back up. And he would thump back to his room, and then he'd get his clothes on, do his morning routine, and be like, "So, how was your day?" And I'm like, "You just look like you hated the world 5 seconds ago."
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I got.
It's like we
Dude,
waited for
yeah.
you to start the conversation because I'm like, do I say hello?
Empire Specialty Printing is a family-owned and operated screen printing and promotional products company. ESP has been in business for over a decade by providing consistent and high-quality service. Products include custom hoodies, shirts, hats, business supplies, and much, much more. Whether it's for a family party, school team, group, or corporate apparel, Empire Specialty Printing has what you need to get the ball rolling.
But yeah, no, there was points where we had to, and we did it with each other. This just happens to be a Michael situation. We all felt out each other. There was times where we did hate the world. We didn't want to talk. But I feel like almost every morning until I really got to know you, because I didn't start living with you until junior year. Obviously, the other guys kind of knew how you operated. I was just like, oh, don't talk to this kid until he talks to you.
You know what I figured out?
I think you felt that about me.
Is I learned in the last month that apparently I have a little bit of a resting bitch face. And I didn't really realize that until my boss looked at me. He goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he goes, "You just look so angry right now." And I was like, "No." It's like, and you know the thing is, it's when I'm in my what I consider my flow state, where I'm just just doing things stuff. It's because I'm thinking, and I guess when I think, I just look so angry, but it's intense, passionate thinking. That's really what it comes down to. Because I was in my head, I'm thinking. Now this is what it really came down to. I was leaving work, about to call him about literally make mental stuff, and I'm sitting there thinking about all right, I gotta edit this thing. I gotta do. So as I'm thinking, I'm sitting there going in my head, and to the outside world, it looks like, God, that kid looks like he wants to just rip someone's face off. But really, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I gotta record that video. I gotta make sure I do laundry when I get home. I gotta.
Your
do
boss
X,
is
Y, and
thinking,
Z.
"Oh, I hate how he kept me on the shoe deck for 7 hours."
Yeah, that actually leads me to a question, and I did. I'm not gonna lie, I did take some notes before. I've had these notes since August 25th, 2023. That's what it says in my notes for
What
this
could
episode.
possibly be on these notes,
Because
dude?
you know what? You know what inspires me is your guy, Joe Rogan. Listening to his episodes,
Yeah.
he inspires me to ask these questions. I think of these questions, and I was thinking, man, I want to ask Slate and Muntz some of these questions just to get their idea.
There's one question on there that I wanted to ask Slate as well. So when we get to it,
Love him or hate him, bro. He just asks good questions. He knows how to run stuff like that.
he just says it as it is. And
Yeah.
The question that I do have is, do you ever give your brain's time to think and process? And if you do, when
this
and
was
where?
the exact question I was hoping
That's
you were
all I
gonna
do,
ask.
man. I'm just thinking about my thoughts.
That's what I was gonna say.
You have to think about your thoughts. You can't just roll through and just
If there's a T-shirt for you, brother, that would be your T-shirt. Just
No,
so you know.
seriously.
Think about your thoughts.
You taught me that.
Yeah, dude.
I'd never heard that saying
Well,
before you either.
people think it's stupid. It's oh, thinking about your thoughts, but it's legit. Sometimes you just need to have time to relax and think about shit.
Is that your treadmill time?
Yeah, dude, or whatever
Or
you
shower.
want to do.
It used to be your shower.
Yeah,
time.
sometimes it's shower time, sometimes it's treadmill, or it's taking a walk, or even
Once a day though. Do you space out time for it?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, several times.
He does
Several
for
times.
sure.
Probably a big portion of my day is thinking about my thoughts.
Did that happen just subconsciously because you made it a point, and then all of a sudden you just do it naturally, or do you still have to physically say whoa, I have to go just relax?
No, dude. I think it took me some self-realization to realize that I'm doing it. I think I've always done it, but I didn't really know what it was. And I recognize that other people don't do it as much.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do it, but they don't know that they're doing it. For me, I finally recognized it was my brother's friend brought up thinking about my thoughts. And I was like, you know what? That's the best way to describe it. I really am thinking about my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, man, you just gotta analyze situations, how you reacted to them, and you know.
But when you do that though, when you think about your thoughts, it's almost like a form of meditation way, because you're not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't typically think about your thoughts when you're on your phone or doing work on your laptop, like you strategically even like point out examples of times where you're like isolated and no outside distractions are what like involved whatsoever. Like the shower, for example.
Yeah.
I know you do bring your phone in the shower, but like typically you're not doing that while scrolling through like Instagram. Like you're
No.
actually like giving your time, like
You
your brain
got
time.
Joe
to people.
Rogan getting ready on YouTube there.
Yeah.
You have like meditative Joe Rogan thoughts. That's what I'm gonna call them. You have
I do,
JRE
yeah.
in the background, and then you're just like, I'm thinking about my life right now.
Yeah.
And what's crazy to me is like we have, I guess, anywhere between like 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day, something like that. Something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's no way you could sit there and think about all 60,000 thoughts.
Yeah.
I'd argue probably at least 50% of those thoughts are the same ones you had the day before, just because routine.
Right.
What do you think about in your thoughts? Like, we
I
don't
mean,
need details, but like, do you think about like how to be more productive, how to learn how to accept it? Like, what goes on in your brain? Because
Dude,
even knowing you, it's like, what the hell?
I know, like when I say it, it sounds really dumb and it sounds kind of funny. But
I did
like,
think it was dumb when you first told me, but it made sense.
It like
Well,
makes
we
a lot
joke
of
about it.
sense. Yeah.
We joke about it, but at the same
Uh,
time, we respect it. You know?
Yeah, but it's like it's a flow state, dude. It's always about like maintaining my flow state. It's like maintaining like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do today. How does this achieve my goal? How is this affecting people? How is
Yep.
this affecting myself?
Yep.
What am I taking to this? Am I excited by doing this thing or
Does it ever
feeling this
exhaust
way?
you?
No, dude. It's like it keeps me like aligned. Like I feel like it's my own little like checklist in my head,
Hmm.
and I just check these boxes all day
Yes.
long. I check these boxes. dude.
Yeah.
And like some people I think that some people have a different way of looking at life. Like I'm not saying that my way is perfect, but some people I feel like go through their day and it's very scattered because they don't have time or they don't have like
A plan.
that space in their head,
Yep.
you know, that
Yeah.
mindset to like think that way. Like they have a different way of thinking where it's more scattered and sometimes it's more exciting, it's more thrilling.
Sometimes that works for people.
Yeah, and it works for some people.
That's their
but-
definition of flow state.
yeah, but
Do you struggle with like that productivity mindset though? Like having to be productive every single, like, is that ever for you like to the point where like you're almost tired of it? Like you wish some days you couldn't be productive and just fuck off and be relaxed?
Oh yeah, and I think it like brings up a lot of anxiety too. Like especially when I was
Yeah.
in college, I was always thinking about what I didn't do. You know,
I know that's daily
Yeah.
for me. Like it's
Yeah.
I think that's like where most of my like stress, if you will, and anxiety comes from. Is that like God forbid I like want to just lay on the couch and watch a movie for a day, and then like by the end of the day I'm like so upset. Like, I feel like I just wasted a day.
Yeah.
Like it's like for some reason in my brain it's like the biggest deal ever that I wasted one day.
yeah.
I'm like, brother, hopefully, God willing, like I've got a lot more days still in my
Yeah,
locker.
but-
Like it's not the
yeah.
end of the world.
yeah.
To me, that goes back to listening to your body and that flow state Slater was referencing, and it's hard. I
It
mean,
is.
it's I even Slater still struggles with it. He's
Yeah.
the master of thought thinking, is what I'm going to dub him. But it's
Yeah.
like you have that
Yeah.
you have that checklist in your head, right? And again, all of our athletes, we want to do every single thing on our checklist to get the job done to the best of our ability. It's another thing to learn that, okay, I got 6 out of 10 things done on my checklist today. That's 60% of my checklist.
Yeah.
That's a lot of your checklist. Of course,
Yeah.
you're going to add more things the next day.
Yeah.
But if you got one thing done on your checklist, it's better than 0. Again, back to that 1% better. So, but it's hard to learn. Like, I don't have to get all 7 to 10, whatever number your checklist is in your head as you're going. Getting it all done is unrealistic.
yeah.
How did you learn that? Or are you still learning that?
Well, I just wanted to say that like it sounds really cliche, but the way that like this extra 1% better thing, to me, it's like a glass half full rather than a glass half empty.
Mm.
Like that's how I always like look at it. I say it's good that I'm doing this, this, and this, but it's okay that I didn't do this, this, and this because I got so much done today, you know? And I think another aspect of looking at it, and I've gotten a lot better at this now, like I feel like in terms of anxiety about getting things done, it's been better than it has been in like 8 years, just because I know that I have my life designed to where I put a time frame on everything that I do.
You
So,
kind of
like,
habit stack.
yeah, dude. So like if I'm going to work, I work 7 to 5, then I'm done with work. I know I'm done with that. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to think about what I've got to do next because I'll think about that at 7 to 5 again the next day. And then I go to the gym. I might go to the gym like 5:30 to 6:30. That's all I got to do. I'm not thinking about going to the gym at all after that. I'm going to figure that out the next day. And it's always like designating this time to always know this is what I'm gonna do here, and if I don't get it done, that's fine because I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Very present.
Yeah.
Like to go back to the beginning episode, very present. That is tough.
Yeah.
Because even now, like, we're in the middle of the episode, and I'm like, my girlfriend's driving 3 hours. Like, that's been in the back of my mind all morning. And I inadvertently rush people. And yeah, I feel terrible for it. But at the same time, it's like, how can I be present right now and enjoy this episode with you guys? Because like you said, we're not going to get this moment back.
Need a tow? Top Shot Transport is the place to go. From cars to machinery, heavy equipment to general freight, Top Shot Transport will give you the best rate. Top Shot Transport is fully licensed and ready to tow your stuff anywhere. Email topshottransport1@gmail.com for more information.
Well, yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. And that's like, it's funny you mention that because I've always had an issue with that. And I think it's another anxiety thing. Like when I was younger, dude, I was never present. Like I was always thinking about like what I got to do next or what I did before that.
Life's better when you're present though, dude.
Yeah, but I think it's like, it's a development of getting older is getting out of that mind state that like you have to enjoy like what's in front of you and then figure out what's you have to do next or what was behind you later. And for me, I can just remember like a particular moment now that we're talking about it where I'm like, all right, I got to be present because it's hurting my life that I'm not. And it was one time when we were like in practice and it was just like really stupid, but for some reason it just like was such a memorable moment to me.
Go for it.
I was like sick as a dog, you know. We were in one of those rainy, cold practices, and we were playing. I think it was like this like 3v3 drill where like there was these tiny goals. It was like not even 18 yards, it was like Michael on another team. I just remember Michael being there because he's a main component of the story.
I think I know what drill you're talking about.
Now I'm sitting forward.
I played like dog shit, dude. Like I felt like shit. I wasn't in the mind state. I was thinking about like this organic chemistry exam that I had like the next day or something, and like I like was running with the ball going to goal. The goal was wide open, and Michael just slid behind me and crunched me with a tackle, and I'm just like, holy shit, I fucking suck. I suck at soccer. Like I literally missed a wide open goal. Took me like 4 seconds to like hit the ball.
Was it that quick?
Did you
was
swing and miss?
Hold on, was that quick transition drill where like it's like so rapid fire and the other team, like if one team wins or whatever, the other team's back on.
This is one with 3 small goals.
It was a rapid fire drill, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was like flying that practice too.
Yeah, and you like fucking crunched me, and then you were like talking shit to me and stuff too. I'm like, everything about this right now sucks so bad.
Well, every time I would get destroyed, Mike would be like, I'm like, dude.
Yeah, like literally everything about it. And I'm like, dude, I gotta be present. Like I'll figure out organic chemistry later, but I can't get crunched by another tackle like this again. Like this sucks. And then like it kind of just started my thing of like being present, and then that flowed into like my entire life.
Yeah.
It's not just that moment. It's just a moment that I remember.
Yeah. It's a very important moment. Otherwise you would bring it up. And to me, that's interesting is that it could have been any moment that you brought up. And it was like, it wasn't necessarily like a life-altering moment, right? It's not like you, heaven forbid, you tore your ACL from this tackle. It's not like you went through absolute hell physically, maybe mentally, at that practice. It was just that one little thing that kind of triggered in your mind. Like, you don't have to our listeners and our viewers, you don't have to go through some life-altering scenario to want to make your life more enjoyable for you. I'm not going to say better, because better is subjective. But, like for Slate, like, he had an accumulation of moments. This was just the one where he was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. But I think that's what sports at least does. Like, I can pinpoint right now, too, like a soccer moment where it was like a, holy shit. And it was our last game of our senior year in Cortland. It was like, as we're on the field and we're getting our ass handed to us, we're down a bunch of goals, the immediate reaction was, this sucks, we're losing, like, I don't want to be here right now. But then it was like, I sat there, I literally remember it to a T, standing right in the middle of the field, could tell you exactly where I was standing too, and just being like, holy shit, like, these are the last 5 minutes of my college career ever. Yeah, and I looked at the stands, I'm like, this is nuts. Like, we have a crazy, like, stands. Crazy. I'm like, this environment, like, everything about this. And I was like, fuck what happens in the next 5 minutes. I was like, I'm going to have fun with my boys. And I was like, I'm just going to play ball like I did when I was 7 years old. And it was like the best thing ever. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do for the next 5 minutes.
That moment for me was the game before at Oneonta, coming back out for overtime.
Yeah.
And there was probably 1,000 less people at that game, but it was ridiculously loud.
Yeah.
The overtime whistle blew, and the ref had to blow it 3 times because we couldn't hear. I still get goosebumps thinking about it. Whether you were on the field, you just had to be there.
Yeah.
That was the loudest moment of my soccer career, and it was probably the biggest game at the time, and it was just like, this is what it's about.
Yeah, just living in the moment, dude.
And then we went on to win that game, and then it
Yeah.
became that next kick is what it was about. That next tackle is what it was about. And I think that's why that team, for us, again, to get back to kind of sports, that's why that team did so well together.
Yeah.
We were all kind of just like...
Every example we just used
we were all kind of just
about presence was that season.
Yeah, we were just like,
dude,
let's
we were
show
all
up.
Present.
Let's just show up.
We did not
Let's
have
just
the
show
best
up.
team, dude.
No.
We didn't have the best team. We
had
didn't
the
have
best
the best
culture.
group of guys. We didn't. We
We had
had
a fantastic culture, though.
Yeah.
We just had guys that were all
We
present.
just fit.
We were all ready to go.
We just
you
fit
know?
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, Slater, yeah, okay, he's a bit left to center, but it's Slater. Like, we'll respect him.
Yeah.
Caleb, he talks a lot, doesn't shut
And,
up. We'll
and we had
respect
so
him.
many
Like,
guys that were running on 1 or 2 legs. Like, you had no hamstring.
Yeah.
You had no hamstring, and you
couple
still
of
were
our
coming out
defenders
to
had a
practice
broken
like,
leg.
you were like, fuck it, let's have fun today, boys. Like, let's have like a sick time. We're like, yeah.
You were never in the trainer's room. I think every time I was in there, I saw you in there. That's how beat up we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took care of my. That's the
You were
best I
getting
ever
the
took care of my
cup
body.
therapy
Yeah,
and-
I took care of my body really, really well that senior year to make sure that we were good. All right, the last thing I want to round this out with, since we're getting close to and crunching on time here.
Oh,
I
we're
wanna-
done.
We're getting
almost
crunched.
done?
Yeah, dude, we're
Wow.
crunching.
It
on
goes
time
fast, dude. We're almost at an
Yes.
hour.
Ooh, time
Yeah.
flies.
Here.
Yeah.
I want the last thing I want to kind of touch on and kind of round it out with is like, what for you, Slate, is like your big gratitude things, like maybe daily, weekly, like what are like 3 things if you can think of that you're like, man, I'm incredibly thankful for X, Y, and Z. What would those 3 things be? Whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, like what do you like make?
I
You
feel like
can't say Joe Rogan.
I feel like you're. Yeah, dude. I feel like this is like a typical thing, right? You say like, "What are you thankful for?"
We
Uh,
we do your favorites, but I want to know like gratitude
A little
wise. 'Cause
deeper
I
than
think
that.
Yeah.
because what I actually heard on a different podcast was like, in the brain, gratitude cancels out anxiety. Like you can't be grateful for something and be anxious.
Where
I saw
was
that.
I heard that too.
George Janko podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I
George
think you might
Janko
have sent
show.
it to me.
Wait,
Yes.
so you can't be.
So in
you
your
said it
brain,
again?
Those
your
two
brain,
thoughts can't coexist.
yeah, in your brain, the way your brain is set up and works, to be like have gratitude and be grateful for things, you can't also that lights up part of your brain where you can't also be anxious and have anxiety and anxious thoughts.
You can't swallow
Never
and
heard
breathe
that
at the same
before.
time. You can't be anxious and grateful at the same time.
So
Interesting.
that's why like
It's
a
crazy.
it's a big thing for people to really like practice gratitude and be grateful daily.
Wait,
for
can we
things.
unpack this though? So is it
Go
like
for
a
it.
2-stepper though? Can you like be anxious and then like afterwards you're like, oh, I'm so grateful that I was anxious in this moment. Like it's a eustress, you know, it's a good
Yeah,
stress.
what we're saying
It
is,
can be.
what you're
You
saying
could
is they
be.
just can't happen at the same time. You can't be like, wow, I'm really thankful for my friends, but also be like, oh, my friends stress me out simultaneously.
Yeah, it's like it's at the same time, and the same time, your brain you can't
They
literally
can't
be
fire.
anxious and grateful at the same time. Is my point.
I think
But you
they
can
hooked-
be, like you said, you can be grateful for an anxious feeling you had. That's
Yeah.
possible.
Because I have that like a lot. Dude.
I think
I'm
they-
like
I
I'm
think
so
they-
glad that I put myself through that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do that a lot.
I think they actually hooked up the brain to a machine and said, just think normally. And the guy was anxious, or the test person was anxious. And then all of a sudden they were like, practice gratitude. And it physically, the mechanisms in your brain fired differently. And the anxious thoughts, for milliseconds even, disappeared when the grateful ones came in.
Yeah, because I just want to like just say this, you know, because this is just something that you guys brought up, and I feel like
Yeah.
I should add is that anxiety isn't always bad. You
No,
know,
it's not.
like
Too.
like a lot of the time there's bad stress, but I mean, dude, like some of my most anxious moments were like my best ones
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm like I'm fucking getting after it right now.
Yeah.
Like it provides you the energy that you need to
There's
get
good
through
stress.
something. I just like I've experienced both, and just to say that a lot of the time when people correlate anxiety, it's usually with bad anxiety.
yes, it's
So would you say
negative
you're-
connotations. Yeah.
Would you say you're grateful for your positive stress then?
Yeah, I'm grateful for a lot of my positive stress.
Can
No.
you give us an example?
Like the other day, it was actually the other day. It was probably like a month ago. I like just got into like archery, like doing like bow shooting.
Oh, shit.
I never even
Okay,
like,
Joe Rogan.
Did you shoot it at
Yeah.
the side of a Tesla?
yeah, right. but
But
dude,
continue, yeah.
But dude, like I never like shot a bow or anything. I didn't even really know how to do it. Watched a few videos. I got this bow and I drew it back, and I was like, I'm so stressed. I don't know if I'm gonna like shoot the ceiling with this thing. Like I'm like, where is this going right now? So stressed out about it. I was like indoors. I didn't want to
Shaking.
break a window. Yeah, I was
Seeing
like, I was
3
like,
targets.
Yeah, I was like,
talk
I was
about
like
presence
shaking.
though. Like you got to be fucking so present for that though.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Did you hit the target?
Yeah, I did pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hit a bullseye, but I was at least on frame.
Yeah.
you know?
First shot ever, you're on frame?
Yeah, I was on frame.
I feel like that's hard to do
It was
in itself.
compound, right?
Yeah,
Compound,
compound bow.
yeah.
But dude, that was like when after I had that anxiety, I'm like, dude, that was a fucking rush, dude. Like
Yeah.
that was so cool.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the anxiety that I'm grateful for is a moment like that.
Sports.
If I didn't
It's
get
just sports
anxious
in
about
general,
that,
though.
it wouldn't have meant as much to me.
College can be a roller coaster, but Xant's got your back. First session? Absolutely free. After that, just $25. Easy on the pocket, heavy on support. Stress, burnout, addiction, or trauma. Xant's expert coaches are here for you. Download the app, kick stress to the curb, and own your college journey. Your mental health, your way. Xant. Download and thrive today.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's sports though, isn't it? Like I'm
Yeah.
fucking anxious for every game.
yeah.
Like every soccer game we ever
Dude.
had, I'm like,
I've told you that.
well, like he cries for every game.
I do. I can't explain it.
Every
Every single game.
I don't understand
Yeah.
that one. That's an emotion I've literally never
But
heard
that's
another
not-
athlete. Like I actually hope an athlete comes on here and says that, so like I can hear. You're the only example I've ever met or
But I
like,
don't
heard.
think
I
I've
was
ever
like,
had the chance to explain it. I'm not going to do it all in Slater's episode because this is about Slater, but it's like, that's one of the only times in my life that I'm only present. Because you guys know I'm anxiety and OCD. Like, I am the scatterbrain friend that Slater references. That on the days that I align my check boxes, fantastic. The days I don't, I'm a hot mess. I'm not even a hot mess. I'm just a fucking mess.
Yeah.
But that moment on the bus ride to the games, on the walk up to the turf, at practice, like that's the only time nothing else matters. Like
Yeah.
that's my moment. I feel like when all that weight is lifted, I mentally and physically don't know how to respond. And that's as far as I'll go in your episode. But
Yeah.
the only way I know how to respond is just like, oh my God, this is peaceful. It's
Yeah.
nerve-wracking, but it's peaceful. I have nothing else to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I cry. And then also it's like, well, shit, I'm never going to play with my friends again. Like that was my
Yeah.
senior year response. But
yeah.
No, that's cool. That's interesting.
it's
you know?
it's just my body not knowing how to react to calmness, and that's something
Yeah.
I have to work on. But
So do
Yeah.
you like actually like have, I don't know if you want to call it checklist, but like things that you're like, man, I'm super grateful for like this, that, and the other. Like you know the typical ones of like I'm thankful I have like a good family, people are healthy, so just like little things like that. Like I'm thankful I have a roof over my head. Like those kind of, like, do you have like those kind of things you like try to like run through on a day-to-day basis or something?
Yeah, dude. Like almost like obviously there's a lot of stuff, but one thing that like really stands out to me, I could probably give you a list of like 30 things. if you
Yeah,
just
which is
kept on
good.
going.
Which is good.
But just like hanging out with you guys today, like you just like reminded me of why this is like such a good fucking time. Is
Yeah.
like like I call it like I don't know what else to consider it, but like winners. Like I try to surround myself with like fucking winners, you know, like
Mhm.
people who like make you feel like you're a better person. And what I value is that like, and I even say that to like my other friends too. I'm like, what are your friends like? I'm like, the only word I can describe is winners. Like they make you feel like a better person. And I think that like everybody needs that. And for me, that has added the most to my life is that like I'm around people that like make you like work harder, you know, think better, think clear, help you like emotionally, like add to your spirit and soul and drive. Like you want to be around fucking winners, and that's what you boys do. That's what you guys add to my life is like being a winner like you guys, you know. And I think that's
I don't feel
special.
like winner half the time, but thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, no,
Sometimes I'm like, feel like a fucking loser
Yeah,
today.
it's
well,
all-
well,
it's-
even when you don't feel
it's
like
perspective,
it, dude,
man.
it's like the personality. Like you guys have winning personalities.
We
you
all
can't win.
drive.
You can't win
Yeah.
every battle. I don't think that's what he's saying. Like we don't wake
No.
up every day and he's like every single check on your checklist for.
No, but
a
we
horrible
strive to
analogy.
be winners.
Yeah.
That's what you respect. It's
Well,
like,
You
I
can have
think,
you can have the winning mentality and lose.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the word as I describe it isn't like winners like you just won a game or something, but it's winners like you are somebody that somebody aspires to be.
Personal
like,
growth,
Like
continued
you're
growth.
you're like a role model. You're like somebody that like I wanna try to be like I'm lacking if I don't have you guys there.
What
you
is
know?
the saying? You become the 5 closest people you surround yourself with.
Really, and I believe that.
So it's
dude.
like
I believe that.
growing up, living with you guys, and even my other housemates for a couple years. It's like we said, you like back to your dad example. You want to take the good things from them and just just ingest it into yourself, just like
Yeah.
take it in. But with that comes some of the bad traits. So you got to kind of sort it. But I think you're right 100%. Is there any other two things that you think that you can think of on your big checklist? Every day you wake up, you're like, I'm thankful for surrounding myself with good people.
Yeah, dude.
I think I do want to touch on the environmental factors though. Like I think that's like a huge thing though.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed that with a lot of people. Like you really do bounce off what your environment is. You said, like if you're surrounding yourself around people, like you said, winners and stuff, you start to win more. It's just like it's just natural. You just are winning more and more and more when you're around people that.
Your vibe
But
attracts your tribe.
when you're around people that just like the drive isn't there, the motivation is low, they're constant. Like I even notice that at work. Like when I'm around people, like coworkers that are just like typically negative people, I just start to find myself being more negative. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, you
can't be
texted
this.
me and you're like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm sorry. The people at work today were just kind of like dragging me down. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
drag you with
it
me.
sucks. It makes me want to leave. Not because I don't like what I'm doing at work sometimes. It's more just like the people there. I'm like, stop.
But then the opposite
Yeah.
happens. I'm sure there's days where you're like, this is awesome.
Well, that's why I now change my mindset when I go into work. I'm like, I don't care if everyone's negative around me or not. I'm going to try to be the one that people thrive off of the positive energy.
Yeah.
I was
you,
like, I'm going to
you
be
and
the
Duran.
difference.
You and Duran just have a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
all right, boys. Well, I think we're coming to the end here. So
We'll get you on
wrap
for
it
another
up.
one.
We'll get you
Yeah.
on for a second one, but
Yeah, dude.
pleasure
That-
as always, dude.
That was fun, Like,
Thank you.
The first video episode, that was a clean,
Yeah, dude,
that was a
that's
clean
clean.
clap,
we,
by the way.
we
That
can
was
do
cool.
that whenever.
Yeah,
you know?
well, we can. Yeah, that's the good thing about this
'Cause-
too is like we made it a point to do this. We all made it a point to be present and here. But I feel like if we just met at someone's house one time, we're just like, I got some thoughts to think about, bro. Let's roll it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just chilling at this place, dude. Drive an hour and 10 minutes. I'll stay
old
here
Ithaca, New
whenever.
York,
dude.
Yeah, dude, that was easy.
All right,
Easy
everyone.
trip.
Thank you for tuning in for our first video episode, and talk to you.
Oh my.
Talk to you.